Hi, we're the Procos at Ridge Homestead, and today is chicken processing day. It's about 50 degrees this morning, a little chilly, but we're ready to go and get this done. We have about 35 to 40 Cornish to process today for our family for the winter, and we're excited to get going and show you the process.
Yeah, we have a couple small coops and a nice little processing setup, perfect for a small homestead, and we're going to walk through the process and show you how we do it here.
So we're going to get going.
A real quick rundown of how we have everything set up. In front of me is actually the coop where all the birds are sitting. So as we get birds, retrieve them to go through the process, they're right here. They're where they've been living for a while, so it's pretty stress-free. The first station is where they get exsanguinated, which we have a couple different size kill cones. We found that some of the larger birds end up in the turkey kill cone, and some of the smaller ones will go right to the chicken kill cone. We have a bucket of water that catches the blood so it doesn't coagulate. And that's kind of the setup for exsanguination. Temperature's up to 107. This is where we do our scalding. We wait till it gets to about 145, 150. And here's where we'll dip the birds in to loosen the feathers after they've passed. So that's right after we exsanguinate. We go here and we dip in this giant tub that we got. And there's a small propane, it's actually big, but it's low to the ground propane heater that runs while we do the process. I'll also mention that we put a little bit of soap in the water, a little dish soap, not a ton, but enough to get a soapy water in there, which breaks the surface tension, penetrates the feathers a little bit more, gets through that oil, so the water actually gets to the skin and loosens up the feathers so we can pluck them out pretty easily. Moving on, we come to the chicken plucker. We ended up getting a larger size chicken plucker that also fits turkeys. I've also hooked up a like a power regulator pedal to it so I can control it with my foot. We found that just turning it on is a bit aggressive for the chickens and tends to maybe break some skin once in a while. So controlling it with the foot pedal, I have a lot more control while I'm actually putting the bird into the chicken plucker.
Then once the chicken's feathers are plucked all the way out, we move them over to the evisceration table. And I got this on Amazon. It's just a fish gutting table for fishermen. You can find tables like this anywhere, but it's food grade and it's meant for eviscerating. It also has a almost like a basin here with a hole, and underneath right here and underneath is a bucket that catches everything that falls down. So the offal that we're not going to be using goes into that bucket, and then we dig it into the compost. I make sure I have everything. It has some knife holders in here. It's a great table. And so at this stage, and you're going to see this in the video, at this stage, we're going to be taking out all the offal. We're going to be using some of the organs, so we keep them in a bucket. So we'll save the heart and livers, and they'll go into this food grade bucket. It's got cold water and ice in it. We'll go through the whole evisceration process, but that's where this takes place. Doesn't have to be a large spot, and it works just fine. Okay, I start with the evisceration by removing the skull by cervical dislocation, and then removing the chicken feet, and then also removing the oil gland on the tail. And then flipping back over and going back up to the cervical area again and making an opening, and then mostly tearing that open, and then finding the crop and removing the crop from the top of the breast meat there. It's attached there. And then also removing the esophagus and the trachea. And again, kind of loosening it more from where it is fixed onto the top of the breast meat there. And just loosening that so it can be pulled out easily. Then I make another incision towards the vent, above the vent, trying to get through the skin there. It's a little tough. And then you're gonna pull open the cavity instead of cutting the whole way. Then I'm gonna reach up and I'm gonna find the esophagus and the crop and the trachea and pull that down first. If you get that out, you can see I'm pulling that out. I'm showing you the crops there. Then everything else kind of comes out pretty easily. You're just going to be removing a bunch of tissue that's attached to the bones inside, and it's just a little bit of stringy tissue, so you remove that. Right here I'm removing the lungs. So I've already removed most of the organs, and then I went back in. If I haven't removed it when I remove the organs, you have to go back and remove the lungs. And then I do a triangle cut down around the vent and take the entire vent out along with the end of the digestive system. So the whole part comes out, and then I save some of the organs that we like to save, like the heart and the liver. And then just do a thorough washout with the hose, with the nozzle and water, and just sort of rinsing so some of the clotted blood, and just rinsing it out, cleaning it out a bit. And then there you have it. I'm also, at the end, I like to take off the neck. It just makes it easier when we bag them, and then you can save the necks too. This is a good way to do that. And then you have a finished chicken. Wash away. Between every evisceration, I like to keep the table cleaned off from the previous bird. And there you have it. Well, one of the last steps, we're done processing the chickens, and so they've been sitting in the pink water for a while, so we finished everything. And now we're taking them out and putting them on. This is restaurant food grade 100% cotton towels, and we use one per chicken, and they get washed and sanitized each time and then stored really well, and so they're really clean. The best practice is to probably have them air dry, but we found that this works really well, especially with thyme. So we put the towels, put them on one side of the towel and fold it over and sort of pat it dry. It also covers it from flies, so that's really helpful. And then we like to shrink wrap the whole chicken. There will be some that will part later and then shrink wrap the parts, like the breast and the thighs and the legs. But we generally sell them as whole birds, so we tend to do that. So The shrink wrapping that we really like is really great quality is from a company called Planet Whiz Bang. It's a family-owned company. They have all sizes of bags, goes up to turkey size and large chicken, small size, medium size, and they usually send it with the twisty ties or the zip ties that we use for it. So I'm going to show you how we do that. It's really quick and easy. So this is a smaller chicken here. This is one of our smaller ones, but we tend to just use large bags. So, but that's okay because we're going to be. So you're going to put the chicken in neck side down, so the cavity side is facing up. And then they send you a nice straw. This is like a big old straw, and you're going to stick that inside the cavity and then kind of close the bag around it as tightly as you can. Take one of your zip ties and put it around the base as tightly and as close to the opening of the chicken as possible. And you're gonna tie it around the straw snugly, not really tight, so that you close the air off. So you have the straws sticking out. This is, again, a really small chicken, so it should work well. And we go over, we have a separate area for our water for shrink wrapping. This is at about 180 degrees. And you just dunk it in for a few seconds. You'll hear the air escaping. And then you have a shrink wrapped chicken. After that, we're going to come over here, take the tubing out, and then zip tie it all the way shut as tightly as you can. And then the process we do after this is we cut the plastic and cut the zip tie, and we do all of our weighing and labeling after that, after they've been in the refrigerator for a day. We are coming to the end of processing day. We're all a mess, but we have close to 40 birds. Yeah, now in the refrigerator. We let them sit for about 24 hours in the fridge, and then we weigh them, label them, and then put them in the freezer. There's different thoughts around if you can just put them right in the freezer. We just kind of let them sit for a little bit of time. And sometimes we like to part a few of the chickens. So before we put them in the freezer, we'll take some of the chickens out and we'll part some of them. And the ones that we've chosen to part, we don't shrink wrap. So we know which ones. Oh, just hit my head. But it's cleanup time. So we're cleaning the tables. We use sort of like disinfectant wipes, like there we are. We're just cleaning up and making sure everything's kind of clean before we put it away. I use just kind of disinfectant wipes, and then with tables that we used a lot, especially for evisceration, I'll clean with soap and the hose water. Our hoses are also like a food grade, non-toxic, non-lead hoses that we could drink out of if we wanted to. That's what we use to process the birds and use it for everything. So, and see, it gets messy. This is just really messy. You get into a flow of things, set up your stations really well ahead of time, have everything ready, garbage bags, paper towels, soap, your thermometers, any little thing. Just be very strategic in setting up, because it'll help along the way. And then when you're cleaning up, we still have to clean this, so the Vivor just kind of shoots the feathers out. Most defeatherers do this, shoots the feathers out here. You can put a bucket or a bin. We just pick it up off the ground. No big deal. Everything's turned off. We're going to have to dump the water. This huge Concord pot that we got is gigantic. I forgot where I even got it. I'll have to list it in the, I'll have to put it in the comments or in the section below so you can see. I'll try to figure out where I got it. It's huge and it's awesome because it takes care of turkeys. And this is 40 chickens and the water's just a little brown. So it does a really good job. So we're just going to have to clean out everything. We're going to hose out the cones, hose out the area, wash the knives, resharpen the knives, wash them, clean out where the chickens were. If you put them in the pasture, you know, just have to clean up your spot and what you've done with them. We have a, so just so you know, I mean, we had some small birds this time. They were pretty small. The first batch we did, we just decided we were going to grow them out for another week or two, but there's a cold snap coming and there's going to be some frost. And they were already starting to show signs of being kind of cold for the fall. So we have to watch out for that. So we did process them early. So we have some smaller birds, maybe like between 3 and 4 pounds, maybe even 2. Some of them are pretty small. But just so you know, these are our coolers here, and about 40 birds. Filled only 2 of those coolers. Some of them, about half of them were on the smaller side. And the other half are probably around 7, 8, maybe even pushing 9 pounds. So, and it matters if they're a hen or a rooster. I have in here, you know, the food grade bucket. It's got all the livers and hearts. What else for cleaning up? Just making sure that we don't use any bleach or anything like that. Nothing too abrasive, but we do scrub down the tables with soap and hot water and all of our tools that we used. So that's kind of it, right? And yeah, you've got blood on your face, but that's the name of the game. Happens. So thanks so much for joining us. We hope this video helps you at least, especially if you're new to processing chickens on your homestead. We hope this video helped you take a leap and be a little bit more confident.